An LA legend, Robert Woods, calls it a career and retires as a Ram. Gosh, that warms my heart. A new coaching hire, and we haven't talked about it yet. Did a TV broadcaster screw around in the Rams Seahawks game and have a big sway in that outcome? Plus, how the Rams can create tons of cap space to spend tons in the Super Bowl or bust season in 2026. We'll go through all the scenarios on this update episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. That's Mark. If you're on YouTube, shout out to all the YouTube regulars on here. Like our video, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any other video content throughout the rest of this 2026 offseason. Right? We got draft, free agency, possible trades, new uniforms, logos, all the nitty-gritty you'll need in these next few months. And then, of course, if you're on the audio and or podcast only side of things, we appreciate you guys as well. Share it all, everyone. Share the podcast, share the audio, share the links to YouTube. It helps other Rams fans see our content, and it's only helping grow the fan base. So me and Mark, everyone a part of this podcast, we very much appreciate it. But I mean, Mark, man, weather a little bit better. We're still, winter storms out here in LA, but a little clearer today. That's nice.
Yeah, I had to get out the door super early, and I kind of enjoy it. It was the wind was blowing and the rain was showering, and it was just it was a little bit surreal, but it's a nice change, for around here. So I'm kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, our quote unquote winter in Southern California out here,
Yeah.
everyone. Some rain and some wind, and that's pretty much it for a couple weeks.
Yeah, and if you're anywhere near the coast like I was, some serious whitecaps out there too.
Yeah, so hey, bundle up, you SoCal natives, even though it's not that serious. I know. Just have your rain boots ready. Don't step in puddles like I did the other day. That was no good. But tons to talk about today, everyone. And the most important one is an LA legend, Robert Woods, everyone. I mean, man, isn't it crazy that, Mark, he was a baller at Sarah High School in LA, was a baller for the USC Trojans in LA. And then the man went to the Rams after some time in Buffalo and was a baller restarting this LA 2.0 Rams era. I mean, damn. Great to see him retire as a Ram. He signed a one-day contract, everyone. And it just warms my heart that he wanted that, right? Remember, things ended kind of crappy after we won the Super Bowl, and we covered it on this channel. The Rams were like, hey, we won a championship without you. Like, we don't need you around. And that's basically what it was. And feelings were hurt. Les Snead alluded to that. And I'm glad many years removed from that, he still views himself as a Ram and wanted to do that. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, who doesn't like Bobby Trees? And I feel like he was, kind of set the mold of what a Sean McVay wide receiver, what they expect of their wide receivers here: physical, tough, willing to mix it up. And he was, he was a very edgy wide receiver. I just remember a lot of plays where, mixing it up with these cornerbacks and these DBs and getting real physical. Actually Puka and him have a little bit in common. I think their style of play, just physical, tough, hard-nosed wide receivers.
I mean, guys, one more time, just respect to the classic uniform. And Robert Woods rocked the hell out of that, the 1-7, back in those early Rams LA days. He was the prototype for what we look for in a Rams wide receiver now. He was the first. A do-it-all, jack of all trades, mega Swiss Army knife, route running, run after catch, short, intermediate, deep, blocking, taking handoffs in the run game. So not just running around catching the ball, but how can you be involved in the run game and be good, versatile? I mean, Mark, everyone, he was the first wide receiver I had ever seen block like a fullback. and be involved in a run play as the pseudo fullback in this 11 personnel grouping that took over the league a handful of years ago. I was like, oh my God, he's lead blocking as a fullback and killing it. And from then on, we saw from, Cooper Kupp being awesome at it. We saw Puka Nacua now be the ultimate version of this, superstar do-it-all wide receiver, and others that have filled in. Shout out to Josh Reynolds, did a nice job for us. Shout out to all the other receivers that have come through this building and taken on that persona of like, hey, we'll do the dirty work. We'll be involved in all aspects of this offense, not just look nice running routes, catching passes. He deserves that credit a ton for what is now considered a Rams type receiver, right? You hear scouts, you hear big draft guys say that, oh, that's a Rams type of receiver. It's based off this guy. And it's the case.
Yeah, and they're talking about a guy in the draft, not to go off on a tangent here, Denzel Boston as well. Same type of thing. They're talking about him. Yeah, and I feel like Robert Woods just loved playing that style of football, just embraced it. You could tell on the field he loved delivering hits. He loved mixing it up on the sideline. And you could tell that a lot of DBs didn't enjoy playing against him. He is just one tough cookie.
Yeah, and he's also responsible for this Rams culture, the McVay culture everyone talks about. His signing coming from Buffalo was a risk that many people were like, is he a difference maker? No. Whitworth, he's too old. And then all the guys that were part of the Fisher era, it seemed like it was going to be a long, long rebuild. And him, Whitworth, Donald, Havenstein, Higbee, all the original Rams guys from that first year of McVay were responsible for the great production on the field, and then also cultivating this brilliant culture that everyone has shining and positive things to say about for the last now going on 10 years. Robert Woods is an LA legend for his days at Sarah, USC, the Rams. Damn. It's crazy that he's calling it a career. And it feels like just yesterday I was seeing him doing the peace sign against the Houston Texans on a bomb from Goff. Remember, as he scores that 90-plus yard touchdown. That feels like a couple years ago, but we know that was back in 17, man.
Was that him with Clowney coming off the edge?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was that game, yeah.
Yeah, it was. And he had tons of great moments. I mean, that was one of my favorites. I mean, Margaret, do you have another favorite couple moments?
No, I really don't. I just remember a lot of plays where I kind of, I'm a hockey fan, right? And I think Robert Woods would have been a great hockey player. I just remember a lot of plays with him just playing with a mean streak and finishing plays and the defense not appreciating it. That's kind of how I felt about Robert Woods, and he was fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he was a ton of fun and ton off and on the football field. I got my words mixed up there. You know what I mean, everyone. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the thing when he came over, if I remember correctly, I feel like the Buffalo fan base was kind of like, hey, you can have him.
Yeah.
And the Ram fan base was, yeah, whatever. Then he turned out to be a pretty a great get by Les Snead for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just a value signing. I mean, he was fantastic his entire time with us. It's a shame that he tore his ACL in a freak practice where, let's be honest, if he was fully healthy during the 21 season, I mean, the Rams would have gone on an absolute tear, would have convincingly won the Super Bowl that year, in my opinion, right? If it was him, Kupp, OBJ, and Van Jefferson, like Van Jefferson's fourth guy in that rotation during that year, they would have been ridiculous. And that Super Bowl 56 win would have been a blowout, no doubt about it. But that's in an alternate timeline. Luckily, Rams got it done. But one more favorite moment from Robert Woods that pops into my head. It was a Thursday night game against the Vikings where Goff went off. The whole passing game was on fire. And he caught that seam route on Anthony Barr, and then he had that big high five to rapper YG. It was kind of a moment like, hey, we're legit. I'm legit. LA's backing us up. YG was one of the, the top, quote unquote, hottest in what's the word I want to say, in fab type, LA people during that, 5-6 years from when I was younger then. What a moment that was too. And then of course, all the great times in the early years as well, right? Catching the screen pass against the Giants was like 3rd and 30 scores on that play against the Giants. That was another great one. And then obviously any of the big catches where first down, he would spin the football, flex. He was awesome, man. He was
Yeah,
awesome.
he's an intense player, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It
Great.
kind of contrast it with Cooper Kupp, right? One of his running mates who was, a little chill,
Yeah.
calm, reserved, and then here was Robert Woods and Puka, kind of the same deal. Kind of an interesting comparison to how Cooper Kupp carried himself. It just different styles, but you have to enjoy. You have to appreciate the way Robert Woods attacked the game.
Yeah, it was awesome. And let's pull up the stats here, Mark. Where is he at all time in the Rams receiving list? And you and I know this already, but the fans, give yourself a moment to think about it. Rams fans out there, where do you think he is all time? We'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's pull it up. I mean, guys, top 10 in receiving yards. That's pretty dang cool. As he finishes his Rams career with 4,626 receiving yards and finishes with 23 touchdowns. I think he had another like 6 or 7 rushing, right? Taking the jet sweep handoffs, end around, et cetera, which is he was really good at as well. And that's pretty dang cool. I'm glad he finished in the top 10. If you had to make me guess beforehand, Mark, if I didn't look this up earlier today, I would have been like, maybe he's close to the top 10, but I'm glad that he is in the top 10. And I think that just further solidifies his stint as a Ram. And it's unfortunate that 2021 ended so shortly, middle of the season-ish for him. He would have had over 5,000 yards and could have been, with Willie Anderson and Tom Fears for sure.
Yeah, and worth mentioning, you go look at some other teams' top 10 wide receivers, and Robert Woods would be in the top 2 or 3 for a few of them. It's just that this list is pretty dang impressive.
Yeah, I mean, legends everywhere. Bruce, Holt, Ellard, Cooper, Crazy Legs, Snow, Fears, Willie. It's crazy. And then Phillips, don't forget about him, everyone. I know he gets lost in Rams talks over the years as well. But I'm glad that he's top 10, and I'm glad that everyone appreciates what he did in this revitalization of Rams football in LA. I always call it the LA Rams 2.0 era. And man, legend. And we wish Robert Woods, all the best, man. Retiring a Ram, as the Rams had a nice post earlier today.
Nice.
So we got that, everyone. And, I'm shouting out to Bobby Trees. What a great nickname as well, by the way. I mean, fantastic. Rams re-signed a lineman. As the other day, me and Mark went through the guys who were free agents for the Rams. And this player, we were in favor of moving on from, but we said if the Rams brought him back, it wouldn't be the end of the world. We wouldn't be mad about it. And everyone, the Rams re-signed offensive lineman, specifically right tackle, backup right tackle, David Quessenberry, and they put out a post earlier as well where shout out to Quessenberry signing his 1-year deal, which I assume is going to be that vet minimum mark like we had talked about the other day, that $1.2 million deal, a guy who has been in the league. You need a depth piece behind now starter Warren McClendon Jr., and it makes sense. Obviously, he did enough in practice over this past year, enough in the film/classroom, and cool. You need backup linemen that you trust, and hopefully we never have to see him play.
Yeah, and we talked about it, and left tackle, right tackle, we need depth there. This solves one of the problems, and don't totally disregard the chances the Rams are going to draft a left tackle at some point. Maybe there's some veterans out there. I'll have to take a look and see who the free agents are, but I still think we need to bolster those that group. But Quessenberry makes sense. Just one less thing to worry about. If he is good enough to be the backup right tackle down the stretch here, he's apparently good enough to be the backup right tackle at the beginning of next season as well.
Yeah, so cool. we'll take it again. We assume it's going to be the vet minimum deal with it being a 1-year deal and him being a backup. I can't imagine it's anything more than that 1.2 vet minimum he'll be getting. So fine by me. Hopefully we never have to see him play, right? That's the goal with any
Right.
backup lineman, my God. But things happen. Linemen get banged around. We see it every year, not just Rams football, but throughout the entire league. So if he is summoned to start games for us at the right tackle position, which is his main spot, we hope that he shows up and is ready to go, because if it's anything like DJ Humphries, that game will probably be a loss. So that's just the truth, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out on the left side, but yeah, Humphreys, we talked about him already. I can't imagine he's coming back. So yeah, just it's a step in the right direction bringing Quessenberry back.
Yeah, so we'll take it for sure, right, everyone? And another hire slash contract that was signed, you could say, is the Rams are hiring former defensive coordinator in college, Robert Wright, and he'll be an assistant defensive coach on this 2026 Rams staff, which is all right, cool. Well, McVay really diving deep into the college ranks, which is fine by me. Whoever you can get with good knowledge to help this team out, I'm for that. And reported by Pete Thamel here. He says, sources on Twitter X, the LA Rams are set to hire Robert Wright as a defensive assistant. Wright is the former defensive coordinator at Syracuse and the University of Buffalo. In his first years at Syracuse, the Orange, their mascot, went, or their whatever they want to say, their insignia there at Syracuse, went 10-3 and defeated the number 6 Miami at that time. And then Wright is a Mike Elko disciple with stops at Duke and Texas A&M. And I think the most important thing out of all that news too, Mark, is that, he coached up Sean Dolak and was a part of that unit that got him looking pretty dang good in college. And of course, University of Buffalo wasn't some, Big Ten, SEC, ACC team, but Dolak being a bright spot, he was familiar with them then, is going to be familiar with him now in Dolak's second year. Hopefully he's healing up good from his injury late in the year. Pretty interesting to see if that has any inklings to come. I don't think so, truthfully, but it is a cool reference to say, hey, he's familiar with at least one player on this defense thus far, right?
Yeah, and I'd love to know how this all came down. Maybe someone knows. Maybe it's embedded in some of these articles out there. It kind of came out of nowhere, came out of left field from my perspective. But I think it's nice. I love to see young coaches get their chances at the NFL level, and rather than recycling some of these guys over and over again. So an up and coming defensive guy maybe, and maybe a future DC if Chris Shula continues to maybe make the rounds next year as a potential head coach. If this defense flourishes, that has to happen first for Chris Shula to become the next head coach in the Sean McVay tree. Maybe this guy's next in line.
And we'll see. I mean, again, will he be coaching a position group, helping with that? We'll find out eventually. Is he more of a quality control type guy? Doesn't seem like it. It seems like he will be helping out in some capacity on a day-to-day basis on the field. Who knows? But hey, he's got play calling experience. And then most importantly, I know a lot of Rams fans are saying, oh, does this mean Sean Dolak's going to start? Is he going to get a runway for that? Look, I like the way Sean Dolak played in his limited action, rotating in with Troy Reeder. Remember during that Buffalo game where Omar Speights was out, Mark? So look, the way the whole entire defense played for 2 months, I don't think any job should be safe. So if this means that Dolak's going to get a shot to start, hey, may the best man win. So I don't know if this hire means that. Like I think some Rams fans are taking it, right, Mark?
Yeah, I would hope not. I would hope that it's still the best man wins, and it's not just because hey, I got some familiarity with this guy, so he's going to be the starter. I think if Sean Dolak can demonstrate that he's a little bit better in coverage than Omar Speights, then he does have a good shot. And Omar, kind of up and down tackling, open field. He got embarrassed a couple of times, so I'd love to see more of Sean Dolak. To see, if he is the answer. I really don't know.
Yeah, and we shall see. I mean, it's going to be interesting now that Nate Landman's been paid. Omar obviously is on the undrafted free agent contract, so he's literally the cheapest contract possible for an inside linebacker, and Dolak as well. So may the best man win. But again, I don't think Robert Wright's hiring dictates a possible position battle or is helping Dolak's case. Like some Rams fans are kind of leading to think, but who knows? We'll see what happens. Right, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into draft talk, but if the Rams do sign all these free agent cornerbacks people are talking about, maybe we draft Sonny Styles at 13. We'll talk about that another day.
Yeah, that'd be hardcore. And we'll see. I gotta look at this film wherever I can find film for college. It's a pain in the ass, by the way. Thanks to everyone sharing Google Drives where I can find those. that's how I assemble my college film. Ugh, what a rough world it is to get good tape on that. But I'm trying like I did last year. And I will find stuff. Everyone. Don't worry. We'll have detailed thoughts on that eventually. But all right. We'll see what happens with the linebackers and see if he coaches any of those linebackers. Shout out to you, Robert Wright, new defensive assistant. But all right, Mark. We've been holding off from this for a little bit. Wanted to make sure that you and I got as educated as possible, or if there's going to be any other new news on this subject. Guys, Rams Nation, Ramily out there. Did a TV broadcaster interfere with the Rams Seahawks primetime Thursday night game? It seems like that's the case. And what am I talking about here? In case you haven't been up to date and been off the internet, which is, hey, good for the brain. I get it. The controversial Charbonnet 2-point play, everyone, where Cam Curl swatted it in the air. It was 28-30 at that moment. Seahawks were building up to that comeback, which was irritating to watch in real time. Ugh. And ball hit the ground, and then Charbonnet picks up the ball to hand it back to the ref. Rams Seahawks are going out there, right? A failed 2-point conversion. Rams are up by 2 still at that moment. I'm still panicking and still worried. Anyway, that's a different subject. And then about 2-3 minutes later, the ball is set, ready for kickoff, and then whistle, whistle, whistle. Oh, we're getting a replay on it. And then after more time, Mark, where McVay's like, what is happening? They reviewed that with that Charbonnet picking up the ball in the end zone, it was a successful 2-point conversion attempt. Now we're tied ball game 30-30, and then the rest is history where the Rams defense just absolutely choked. And what a historically bad loss that was in the McVay era and Rams history, truthfully. Despite the loss, though, Mark, that original play, we talked about it a ton, thinking the rules suck, yada, yada, yada. The way they handle it, McVay talked about it post-game, like, I had never seen anything be handled like that. And he's like, I never got clear confirmation. Well, no matter what you think of Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, everyone, you got to give him his props for digging deep into NFL BS. He's very anti-establishment, very like, hey, we're for the players, we're for getting things right. We're going to dig deep into the controversial or weird things or scandalous things that maybe ESPN and NFL Network won't get into. Got to respect that. And he did so in this situation. Mark, everyone, this is crazy. So all that happened. And then Brad Allen obviously announced the play was under review, like we talked about, blah, 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 blah. So PFT, Mike Florio and his crew dug deep on this and, quote, he said in an article on PFT you can read, we're told reliably and by 3 different sources that the league offices became aware of the wrinkle when Prime Video rules analyst Terry McAulay called Anderson to discuss the play. The implication is clear. Without the phone call from McAulay to the review process, wouldn't have been activated. The 2 points wouldn't have been awarded. So what does that mean, everyone? Prime Video TV analysts called the NFL referee offices live during the game, called up his buddies there that, hey, you should review this. Our TV Amazon Prime angles are showing it's a backward pass and yada, yada. You got to overturn it. They listened to him, which is why there was that 2-3 minute delay after the failed attempt waiting around. McVay's puzzled, and then we got that call. It all makes sense now, Mark. That is incredible that happened, and that the league just let that happen, by the way, too, isn't it?
Yeah, in the airline industry, they have what's called a sterile cockpit, and I would argue that the NFL replay office should be a sterile cockpit as well.
Yeah.
It just these buddies of theirs can just call them and voice their opinion, give them some information. And once that call's made, it puts the replay office in a bad spot. It's just like, well, they're gonna run with this after the game if we don't overturn it, if we don't review it, and it's going to make us look bad. But if we overturn it, if we do the review and overturn the play, we're going to take heat for that. And they had to make a split-second decision, but it's all avoided if they shouldn't be taking calls from anybody.
Yeah.
during any NFL game. Really surprised that that's even allowed to happen.
I mean, incredible. As we'll pull up another quotes here, and via text message, McAulay declined to go into detail of the specifics, with PFT reaching out to everyone being like, is this true? The NFL, in an email responding to PFT about this subject, said this: Walt Anderson serves as NFL rules analyst, and in that role is in communication with our broadcast partners during games. Broadcast commentary, however, plays absolutely no role in officiating decisions. The point is that the review was sparked by something McAulay said on air. Our report, which neither McAulay nor the league refuted in response to our inquiries, is that a call from McAulay to Anderson prompted the review. So the NFL says, hey, yes, they're in communication, but that's not going to decide it. We don't let those things decide outcomes of games and decisions. Well, that's a bunch of crock bullshit, apparently, because it did, right? That did happen in this game. And look, for everyone's like, oh, boo-hoo, Rams fans, you took a L. Yeah, the Rams deserved to lose that game. There was a lot more that went on poorly than just that 2-point conversion that me and Mark, we talked about this. The rule was awful. The amount of time that from when the play was dead to when Charbonnet picked it up, like, that rule is so bogus and stupid. And I think the competition committee with Sean McVay will get that out of the rule book. We'll see what happens. And we talked about it. That's a separate issue. But to have any broadcaster, any outside source dictating outcomes of plays, let the conspiracy theories begin of gambling, mafia ties, people, swinging games to benefit a certain party or not, rigged games, right? People talked about the script of the NFL all the time, right? Like, oh, it's in the script that, the Chiefs had to be a dynasty, or of course the Rams had to win a Super Bowl in their own stadium, and so did the Bucs. All these conspiracy theories that people like to have, which may or may not be true. Let's be honest about it. But stuff like this fuels the thought of games are rigged, that this is just sports entertainment and it's not real. Outcomes aren't 100% real. There is the league, infusing their influence to decide outcomes of games as best they can. This is a bad look. And Mark, I'll finish on this, with legal gambling being promoted by the NFL, being promoted by teams, being promoted by everyone, including ourselves, right?
Right.
And what makes them, which is fine. But I think with all that being in the forefront of sports entertainment now and the sports world, professional sports, this is not good. And it wouldn't shock me we find out one day that McAulay, or if the incident like this gets unearthed, that there was mafia ties, that there was people paying refs to purposely, blow games, sway games, or the NFL is making them do that. This opens up a pit of craziness, which is not good, man.
Yeah, sterile cockpit, man. And the communication with the broadcasting crews makes sense to some degree because they're the ones that provide the feeds, right? But to have, an analyst calling the replay group and saying, hey, you need to take a look at this. When do they choose to do that? And when do they choose to let it go? Just erase that possibility entirely. Terry, we're not taking a call from you. no, no thanks.
I mean, look at Terry. I mean, this is a fireable offense of our prime. Like now, I'm going to look at Terry McAulay and look at. I don't know him as a person. I don't know nothing about him. I'm sure he's a cool, decent human being at the minimum, right? Like we hope every person is. But damn, bro, like you're interfering with outcomes of games. If you want to be a ref, go be a ref again, right? You want to work for the NFL? Work for the NFL. But and it's just absurd that this happened. And again, Rams deserve to lose the game because all the dumb shit they did anyway. That's not my point of this whole thing and our point here, Mark. But man, this is worrisome for the integrity of the game going forward. And there's already been crazy things that have happened in American sports since the dawn of professional, serious sports in this country. Why would the greatest sport in the United States of America, not be, persuaded or the shadow of that come over it eventually? I guess time will tell, right?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, and we'll see what happens. But maybe Terry learned his lesson. Maybe the NFL learned their lesson, and they're not going to take any more calls like this. It's just such a bad precedent too.
Yeah.
You wonder, maybe it's happened before. Maybe it's the first time we're hearing about it.
It's probably happened tons of times, and
Yeah.
why would it be unearthed unless you're digging for it? And again, no matter what you think of Mike Florio, he is always anti-establishment with the NFL, always calling out their bullshit, always calling out things that are wrong, stories that ESPN and NFL Network won't cover. So you got to respect him for that, and I tip my Rams cap to him digging deep on that.
And you also have to recognize that these guys have teams they favor as well. There's no doubt about it. Mike Florio, in this case, kudos to him, but he loves the 49ers. Terry Bradshaw hates the Rams. These guys have the not that they're the guys that would be on the phone, but just as an example, these guys are human beings. They have teams they like. They have coaches they like, teams they favor, teams they don't like. And if that's going to be part of the equation, whether they get on the phone and call the replay office, it's like, no, don't call. Let it sit. Let it ride. We're fine. Yeah, it's just bad news. Just opens up a whole can of worms.
Yeah, NFL, pay refs, make them full-time, pay them good, get them to study the rule book so we don't have this dumb shit happening ever again. And, good refereeing throughout the league, which probably this last year was some of the worst reffing, not just for Rams games, but the entire league I've seen in quite some time off the top of my head. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, we got TV broadcasters interfering with NFC West championship games, basically. No bueno, man. No freaking bueno. But as we move on, everyone, let's get to the cap space situation with the Rams, right? How can the Rams create additional cap space for 2026? And Mark, there's tons of different ways this could go, but I think it's important that we pull up where we're at right now in cap space. Now, this doesn't account for that vet minimum Quessenberry signed today, I'm assuming, even though Over the Cap does a great job of updating their stuff as soon as they get contract details and news. So I'm sure in the coming days that will be accounted for. But as of right now, Rams are the 8th best teams in terms of cap space available to them. Right now, they have about $44.9 million available to them, which is pretty good. When you look at how this team was in cap hell not too long ago, where they had tons of dead money to a lot of players that they were eating for a couple years in a row, many years it felt like. And for them to be the 8th best, Mark, pretty dang good. But also, if you're on YouTube, you can look at this list too. How fun. Super Bowl champion Seattle's above us, and then Niners are only a couple spots below us. So the 3 teams that finished with 12 wins in the same division for the first time in the 100-plus year history of professional NFL football, they're all in the top 10. Blech.
Yeah, and the Rams, we'll talk about it in a minute. They can open up a lot more space. And, at Saturday morning inspection, they did a collection of, who's in the best position considering draft capital and cap space. And the Rams were right up there near the top of the, I think the angle they took was they looked at, I think, the top 6 teams in their opinion, the top 6 teams in the NFL And of all those teams, Rams and Seahawks were at the top.
Yeah, and we're in a good spot, but hey, we got competition not even just in the NFC conference or the NFL in total, in our own freaking division. How fun.
Yeah.
But hey, best division in football, bring it on, man. Whoever wants to hoist the Lombardi, you got to get through each other, which is fine by me. So everyone right now, approximately $44.9 million in cap space, which is eighth best in the NFL, with only about $9.7 million in dead money, which is pretty solid compared to a lot of other teams who are carrying serious weight, and we've done so in the past. So with this, everyone, what we're going to do right now is we're going to find ways together through this over the cap calculator how the Rams could get even more cap space. And a lot of these are pretty simple solutions that I think are going to happen. Maybe not every single decision we do together here, but I think a handful of them will come to fruition. And how that will be, let's get into it right now. So before Mark pulls up the big screen here, or go ahead. Yeah, or that's fine. Let's do it.
Jump the gun on you. Sorry about that.
Good. So perfect. We're talking about it right now. And what we have here, everyone, is on the current contract situation for the 2026 Rams. You could see a bunch of different numbers. You could see what a player is getting in base salary. You could see what they're getting in bonuses, all the different types, and then their guaranteed salary. But most importantly, what is their cap number, right? So what a player is getting paid doesn't always equal the amount of dollars that is taking up cap space. So there's real physical money going into the bank, and then there's the imaginary number that is a part of a team spending. Usually those things are equal, right? Let's just say Mark's getting paid by the Rams $20 million. His cap number would also be $20 million. But if you finagle money around, right, restructuring, void years, extensions, etc., that number could get lower or bigger depending on what you do. So with that said, everyone, Matthew Stafford is on the final year of his deal, right? We have him coming up with 40 million approximately for him, everyone. And we're thinking, okay, how could we lower his cap number, right, Mark? I mean, his cap number is large, but not crazy. Where he's at right now, 48.2 million, right? It's not ideal. It's not maybe the greatest. And maybe he signs an extension and that could be lowered as well. But as we go back to the chart here, and I'll pull that up right now as well. Shout out to Matthew in the Hopeful, New Jersey there. If you're on YouTube, you can see that. You can see here on the table, we hit that marker in the top right corner where you can do different transactions to see what's going on with the team and what you choose. If Matthew Stafford restructures his contract, and it's not taking a pay cut, it's not doing anything like that. It would be from the Rams end saying, okay, we're going to add phony fake years to extend your contract, right? You're not getting any money. You're not playing. Usually you hear them be called void years, which is basically phony years where you can spread out that imaginary cap number or that imaginary money that is counting against the team spending, right? It's not physical dollars Matthew's going to get paid, but the Rams could do that. And in theory, they could save and gain $11.7 million. That's pretty dang good, Mark, in my opinion, if they do something like that, which I do expect, by the way.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any reason for the player to push back on that, especially someone like in Stafford's position where, he's trying to win another Super Bowl, and doing so gives the Rams flexibility to go out and get this team some more tools, some more players. They're going to help us get to the promised land. So, yeah, he'll be all in.
Yeah. And again, this isn't affecting a player's actual bank account dollars to pay bills and live their life. This is the cap dollars, which at one point is equal to what a player is getting paid. But again, when you create those void years, you're taking cap dollars now and shoving them into the future. So next year, Stafford's cap number hopefully won't be 48 million because obviously he won't be in that ballpark, but it'll be a decent amount, whether he's on the team or not. That is the risk reward that we have done throughout the years. So there's Matthew Stafford. I expect a restructure to happen, whether he signs an extension with the Rams to keep playing, or they add phony void year extensions where it's just going to have that fake, accounting that we're going to have to deal with in future years. I expect that to happen, right, Mark?
Yeah, they got to get it done with it. This is a no-brainer. Some of these are no-brainers. A handful of them are, and yeah, we expect them to happen almost for sure, especially with Stafford.
Yep. So there's Matthew Stafford if he were to restructure, which I think is going to happen. Then we move on to Devontae Adams. So his cap number right now, everyone, is $28 million. Rams are not going to keep him at that cap number at all. You can bet your bottom dollar that he's going to get some type of restructure as well. So if we pull up that chart one more time again, in this, let me remove this real quick. Sorry about that. There we go. In this scenario here where you are restructuring the contract, again, you're going to add those phony years, those void years at the end of his contract, right? Like if he was playing in 27, 28, 29, they can in theory save another $11 million. Great. I think they're absolutely going to do that too, right, Mark?
Yeah, those top two guys on the list, you can just almost consider it done. They're going to get restructured, and it's going to be great news for Rams and the Ram fans, because it's going to give us the ability to go out and spend in free agency. Man, I think the Rams are going to be really active come March 11th, and these restructures are going to help us get it done.
Yeah, and I think it's bound to happen with him. There's no way they keep him at 28 million, that cap number right there. So put on the void years, the phony years, and let's spread out the pain of that number, and we'll deal with it later. We're trying to go all in. So I think that's what's happening with Devontae for sure, if I had to bet on it. Another player who we've pushed money in the past would be Alaric Jackson. I mean, he just signed an extension. His current cap number right now is at 25.2 million. Now, I don't think they're going to keep it at that either. The good thing with Alaric is that he does have legitimate, real playing years left on his deal, right? He just signed in this past offseason a year ago around this time. And they don't have to add void years to his deal. They still could do that, but they don't have to. But as we pull up the chart again, though, Mark, here, I mean, you have Alaric's potential cap saving if he does restructure as well, which I do think is going to happen. The Rams could save about $8.8 million. And I think he's also a no-brainer for a restructure to happen, right?
Yeah. Another one that just makes perfect sense, and no reason for him to not be on board with it. I mean, almost all these guys, as we go down this list, I think that's going to be the case. Maybe a couple of exceptions, but makes sense to me.
Makes total sense. And again, at 25.2 million, I don't think the Rams are going to want him as that. Could they leave it? Absolutely. They absolutely could. But Stafford, Devontae, I think are no-brainers. That's going to happen. Alaric Jackson, I think they will, just because they could save a good amount of cash in this all-in season. But they don't have to add the void years. They could if they want to, but we'll see how they decide to do that. But in theory, as of right now, they could save about 8.8 million, which I think would be a wise decision in this all-in year, right, Mark?
Yeah, what will $8 million get you on the free agent market? Look at it that way. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with him. Now, this one is interesting with Kevin Dotson here, as if you were to do a restructure, nothing would happen, right? Because with Kevin right now, everyone, he's got no years left. This is his final year as a Ram, technically. So he's playing well. He's kicking ass. And Mark, as we pull up here, we'll go back to the chart here on Over the Cap. What we're going to have to do, though, is on the top right corner, we're going to have to change that from restructure to extend, if you can do that real quick.
There you go.
So we changed the extension part in terms of what you want to do with the roster. If they were to extend Kevin Dotson, they could restructure then. And in that scenario, they can save about 11.8 million, which I also think is going to happen. Kevin's playing awesome. Why would you not want to resign one of the best guards in football, even though there is no Pro Bowls to show for, no All Pros, which is stupid, by the way. It's just a popularity contest at this point. I think he's going to get some type of extension, Mark. It feels like that's going to be the case with just how good he's been. He's not some old dude, right? I mean, everyone thinks that for whatever reason that he's some older player. He is a veteran, but he's not some young gun that is all beat up. I think they're going to extend him. And Mark, if they do that, again, you can save 11.8 million after that with a restructure with his extension, which he deserves. I think that's also no brainer too for the future of the Rams and then the present to all in, right?
Yeah, he's our best offensive lineman, and like you kind of suggested, probably worthy of a Pro Bowl or two. Just keeps on getting overlooked. He's yeah. I would feel great about locking him up for another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, so I think that's also no brainer in terms of how to get more cash and then keep a great player around as well. So we'll see what happens, and don't be shocked if that news comes within the weeks leading up to free agency frenzy in early March. But again, a move for the present to free up cap space, but then also secure a fantastic lineman for the future as well. I think it's a double whammy win-win, and I think that we should anticipate that happening, right, Mark?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And man, our cash at hand is quickly growing here.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're tallying this up, so don't worry. We'll have a grand total right now for you in a little bit, everyone. But another player who signed a big contract, who has real years to continue playing as a Ram, that would be Pro Bowl running back Kyren Williams. As you know, he signed his contract not too long ago. He has a couple years of still playing football legitimately, not fake or phony void years. And Mark, if we go back to the page there and look at Kyron's situation, if we go back to the restructure part of it, right, as we pull that up again here, not extension, we go back to restructure. I mean, guys, we can save about $6.5 million, which I think is also going to be a no-brainer for him as well. Now, could this not happen? Sure. The big ones are the top guys, Stafford, Devontae, and Alaric Jackson, I think, are all slam dunks to get restructures, if I had to guess, and you had to guess right, Mark. But if they wanted to do Kyren Williams, again, $6.5 million, I think they would be willing to do that as well. Will they? We'll see, but it makes a lot of sense that they should, right, for this all-in season.
Yeah, and Kyren Williams, he's hasn't really shown any signs of a running back that's going to peter out at you on you. Has a knee or knee issues of any sort. Todd Gurley, that Todd Gurley episode may have poisoned the Rams when it comes to extending running backs, but I don't think Kyren. I wouldn't have a concern with him in that regard. So yeah, I'd be on board for that.
Yeah, and again, I'm sure he would too. It's not taking any real money out of a player's pocket. It's just how it's all formatted in terms of fitting in the cap dollars, right? And if you're trying to go all in, why wouldn't they want to do this? And the Rams, and especially with Kyren still having years left of actual playing, and if you win a championship this year, then you'll deal with heavy cap numbers for players in future years, right? That's what it's all about for this Super Bowl in LA in a year from now, which is crazy. So there's Kyren Williams' situation. We can save about 6.5 if he restructures his current contract, which I think is an option that they'll consider for sure.
Would you consider an extension for him? I guess that's what I was leaning towards. A little bit slightly more savings, but I guess that if there's not that much difference between an extension or a restructure, you just go with the restructure.
Yeah, I mean, look, he just signed that contract not that long ago, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that was just in August a year ago, so he still has 2 physical years left on a legitimate deal. So I mean, could they keep extending him? I don't think that's going to happen.
Maybe revisit in about a year from now, perhaps.
Yeah, that's a different situation. I mean, he just signed that literally, a year ago ish, back in August. So no, but a restructure, I think that's definitely on the table, and that makes a lot of sense.
And Quentin Lake just signed his contract as well
Yep.
very
And
recently.
well, let's speak about him. We're just about to get to him next. Good foresight there, Mark. Quinn Lake just signed his deal literally what, couple months ago, it feels like, a couple months ago now. And with him, everyone, with him having many years left of actual contractual years left, if we pull up that chart again, going back to over the cap with a restructure, they could also save 6.5 roughly $1 million with him, which I also think is something that the Rams will consider and may do as well, right? And with Quentin Lake, I know a lot of people are saying, hey, he didn't play that great in the year. He was coming off the injury, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is all true. But if Quentin returns to top form in the slot, returns to top physical health with the elbow and everything, all the long playing, snaps he's had throughout his Rams tenure, then I think this is also no brainer. I know Rams don't like to push a lot of cap dollars unless you're super special for defensive players into the future, right? Like this deal would entail. But again, an all-in season, when you're trying to have as much money as possible, competing with the Seahawks and Niners who are top 10, I think they would heavily consider Quinn Lake in that category, Mark, to restructure and get more money freed up.
Yeah, and I think the Rams got to cut him a little slack coming back from the injury last year. He's still going to be an integral part of this defense. And, with Cam Curl, a free agent, we don't want to have too much. We don't want to we want to overhaul this secondary, but not a complete overhaul. So, Quentin Lake is not that he's going anywhere, but I'm just saying we should be happy and have some positive expectations of what he's going to bring to the table next year. So, whatever keeps Quentin happy and keeps jacking up this salary cap, the cap space we have.
Yeah. So I think he's definitely a candidate that the Rams will consider. And all in season, I keep mentioning that. Let's do it. Do what you got to do. We'll deal with it later like we did after the 21 season, right? Anyone complaining about hosting a Lombardi and being in the history books, when we look back as we're all older men and women and ladies, I don't think so. So we'll see what happens with him, but he's definitely a candidate, which I think they'll consider heavily on that. Now, another one, Poona Ford, defensive tackle, nose tackle, D lineman, great contract that he signed, 10 a year, 3-year deal. So he also has physical, real playing years left on his deal, Mark. And if they were to restructure his contract, if we pull up the chart again for everyone to look at, there wouldn't be a massive saving, right? He's not getting paid as heavy as Kyron or Quinn, but they could save about $3.7 million, Mark, which, hey, anywhere you can get cash, do it. And I think Poona Ford is another candidate that they'll look into. And with the way he's playing, I don't think he's going to get cut anytime soon unless this next upcoming season is a dud, which I don't imagine at all from him. And with that being a restructure that won't be so heavy in future years, I definitely think they'll, again, consider it seriously with Poona Ford, which makes sense. All in, right?
Yeah, and it's a pretty team friendly deal to begin with, in my opinion, considering how important he is to this defense. So I'm okay with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right, everyone. We got Poona Ford with a restructure. And here comes another category real quick, which I don't think the Rams are going to do this. But would it shock anybody if they did? And again, this player played well on offense for us, had one of the best tight end seasons in Rams history. But I will say this, because this is a possible scenario to save a lot of cap dollars, right? What if, everyone, that the Rams said, hey, we're going with Terrence Ferguson to be the main guy. We're going with young Davis Allen. We're going to go out there and draft another tight end with a high-end pick. We're maybe going to sign, just off the top of my head, a David Njoku and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What if, everyone, the Rams decide to cut Colby Parkinson before free agency? Let's go back to the chart there and see what that saves. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm not making any proclamations that that's going to happen, everyone. but it's possible based on the history of the Rams, right? Just saying, hey, you hear this all the time, salary cap casualties, players that still valuable to a team, still could play, but because of their cap situation and the savings they'll get and what they're going against in general, they make that decision. So right now, Colby Parkinson's cap number is $9 million. If they were to cut him before before June 1st, they would save $7 million. I don't think that's going to happen, Mark. He had, again, one of the best Rams tight end seasons in the history of this franchise, was a clutch player, had some moments where you're thinking, damn, you want more, but it was good to see him ball out, and he's clearly the tight end one from all his snaps and targets of last year. But if they were to cut him, I wouldn't be shocked based on the savings that they would get. And the Rams have done this in the past with players. Colby's no exception. Let's be honest about it. But what's your take on that?
Well, it's quite a dilemma because first off, I think McVay had to be a little disappointed in Colby's production his first year here in LA. And then this past season, he really surprised a lot of us. We were talking about cutting him last year. I think he was probably at the top of the list of the players that we would want to see cut. And then you got Tyler Higbee riding off into the sunset, perhaps, and you got Terrence Ferguson. It may depend on exactly how McVay feels about Ferguson. And again, my special assistant and I always say, would love to go play a round of golf with Sean McVay and give him some truth serum and start asking him questions about some of these guys, Yeah. But I could see it. I would hope not, because I really thought he elevated his game. And now, the equation is this: you're always trying to improve your team. And like you said, you could cut Colby Parkinson and have the cash. Not the $7 million isn't going to get you probably one of the top tight ends on the market, but close to it. So if you want to improve the group and spend another couple $1 million, you can do it if you cut Parkinson. But I hope they keep him.
Yeah, and again, if I had to guess on this, they're going to keep him around. But we have to mention that the way his contract is set up, if they cut it, they'll save that $7 million, which, hey, that's money that could be towards other premium players, whether that be for trade acquisitions, targets in free agency that maybe come out of the blue that we're not thinking of at the moment. These are all scenarios. Rams have cut plenty of starting caliber players out of the blue, right? Robert Woods, Leonard Floyd, Jalen got sent away, Bobby Wagner, Jared, they had no problem cutting him after time and eating dead money. Alec Ogletree, Brandon Cooks, who else got big deals and were sent away? Robert Quinn. I mean, we can go on and on and on in this McVay era where teams were willing to, grab those players from the Rams, and the Rams wanted to move off from them. So again, Colby Parkinson falls into that category based on the money, the cap dollars they would save. I hope he sticks around, played good, but we got to bring him the scenario and go through it, right, Mark?
Yeah, and the other part of it is we all know, I think from day one, from the first day of McVay's arrival here, he has been desperately searching for his unicorn tight end.
Yeah.
And he hasn't got Gerald Everett, Davis Allen, Colby Parkinson, Tyler Higbee was very good, but I don't think he's that unicorn tight end that McVay has tried to trade up for Dalton Kincaid and someone else as well, I think.
Bowers.
Brock Bowers. Yeah. So, if McVay, and then there's the 13 personnel aspect of it. If you're really going to keep on leaning 13 personnel, why would you want to cut Colby Parkinson? And then you may have to go out and find 2 tight ends if you want to continue to lean on that.
Yeah. So again, we agree that he's going to be around, but it wouldn't be shocking to see him be a cap casualty. And we just had to go through that scenario for you guys. Again, they would save $7 million. You never know what the McVay-Snead combination and what they're thinking there, but we had to go through that scenario and inform everyone on that. So there you go with Colby Parkinson. We expect him to be around, though. Now, this player we agree, Mark, that he is probably a 99% certainty going to be a cap casualty. And who are we talking about? That would be cornerback Darius Williams. Now, why do we say that? And let me preface it by this real quick, everyone. Shout out to Darius. When we got him for pennies on the dollar from the Baltimore Ravens, right, where he was let go and we claimed him, played a little bit at the end of that 2019 season. And then 2020, he was awesome, could play man-to-man, ball skills. Think of all the crazy batted passes he had, interceptions, right? The Giants won the pick six in the playoff game against Seattle, other crazy plays. And we're like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. Then Super Bowl champion, was awesome, opposite Jalen Ramsey again for a second year in a row, and then played really well with Jacksonville and then came back with us. But let's be honest about it. When you're getting benched multiple times throughout the season, you're inactive on game day, you're inactive in playoff games, you're getting benched in the middle of playoff games. And if we go to the chart here, as we pull that up one more time, with Darius Williams being cut, the Rams would save $7.5 million. So based on all that, Mark, I think he's a slam dunk, and I don't enjoy saying this, but I think he's a slam dunk cap casualty to be gone on this roster. As he was a liability, just like a lot of the other outside corners this season. And Darius is a Rams legend for what he did for this team. Number one defense, playing great that couple years he was here with us, and then obviously returning, helping this team get back to relevancy. But his time is done. They benched him too many times to keep him around, and to save $7.5 million, I think it's going to happen, right, Mark?
Yeah, and I just checked. No difference if it's pre-June 1st or post-June 1st. So who knows when that cut will happen? But yeah, it's got to happen.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen.
And it's a bummer too, because you mentioned that play in Seattle, the pick six in Seattle, one of my favorite plays in the playoff game, with DK Metcalf over on the sideline whining and about not getting the ball in the next play. There's Darius. It's not this photo you're showing here, but had a similar look though. So he got to give him his props for the impact he's made on this team, especially when he was playing really well in his earlier years. But yeah, time to move on.
Yeah, it seems like that's another slam dunk, just like Stafford, Devontae, Alaric Jackson, all getting restructured. It feels like Darius is for sure the main cap casualty that will come for the Rams. And it just makes sense based on everything we talked about. He was just benched too many times this year for them to all of a sudden be like, hey, we're going to keep you around, man. It's unfortunate. Rams legend for what he did for this team, but it feels like his time is coming up, and it makes sense to free up money for an all-in type of season that we're hoping for. So there we are, Darius Williams. That's his scenario that we think will come to fruition. And then Nate Landman, he just signed an extension, right? It was awesome that first half of the season, maybe tailed off the second half, just truthfully with the entire defense, though. It ain't just a Nate Landman issue that happened on defense. But if we go back to the restructure part of our over the cap for Nate Landman, and yes, he signed his extension, not that long ago either in the season, we pull up his situation. Would the cap savings be a ton with him, everyone? No, it won't be this $7+ million like other players. But hey, if you can save around $3.4 million, right, that could go towards extending money to spend, right? I think they would do it too, because he actually has physical years left on his deal, right? They can push down the road. They don't have to add any fake, phony, void years. I think he's a candidate that they'll explore that too, Mark, and I think it'll probably happen.
Yeah, and these younger players, guys in the middle of their career, it makes sense. I don't know if we're going to talk. Maybe I'll bring it up right now. The downside of these is you risk the dead money later on, but I think that really only applies to Devontae and maybe Stafford, where it's a real risk of serious dead money. But Landman's, he's got a few years left in the tank for sure. He may not be a Pro Bowl style, Pro Bowl level linebacker, but he's good enough to be the center of this defense for a while. So yeah, sure.
Yeah, and for everyone out there, I know my Darius's cap, I know I missed that on that, was 8.6 million. Nate Landman is 7.2 right now as it's currently set. Right, nothing outrageous for Nate Landman, but I think a restructure is very likely, especially with his cap number being decent as it is. He'll be around for the next couple of years as of today, of course. He's got physical years left. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, right, Mark?
Yeah, and I'm curious. I don't have the data on it. I'd love to go. Maybe I'll ask AI for an answer here. Do teams typically, do they really restructure that many guys in the same year? Maybe they do. I'm not sure. Or is it
Yeah,
more of
no, I
a,
know.
let's pick 4 or 5 guys? They try to avoid restructuring older players, perhaps if they can. Sometimes it's unavoidable because those are the guys that have the potential big savings. But my expectation would be some of these guys are going to get restructured. I don't know about all of them. I'm going to do some research on that between our next drop, maybe, and
Yeah.
see what I can find out.
That's fair. And we'll go through the grand total of what we talked about this far and then the likely ones we think are for sure going to happen. And we can kind of compare on that when we're done here very shortly. But there you go. Nate Landman, in his situation, I do think a restructure is on the table. Again, saving about 3.4, almost $3.5 million, which, hey, you'll take it anywhere you can get it, right? And then here, everyone, this is, again, another just scenario. This isn't a, oh, this is going to happen, but it's possible. And I think the Rams would explore this if things go a certain way. And what do I mean by that? That would be about current Rams punter Ethan Evans. Now, with him, people are kind of split on him in the fan base. There's moments like in that first game against Seattle where he had the best do or die punt I've ever seen in Rams history, where he got them inside the 5-yard line, which was major in keeping the Sam Darnold Seahawks offense away from kicking a game-winning field goal. And there's other moments where he had some bad punts in playoff games. He's had some bad punts in regular season games. And yes, he squats a bunch, which is fun for the internet and all that, and fun for us to laugh and joke about and be like, hey, our punter is a strong dude. Could it be possible, Mark, if we go back to the cut side of things on Over the Cap, that new special teams coordinator, Bubba Ventrone, says, you know what? Respect to Ethan Evans, but we're going to go after a punter that I like a little bit better, that'll do things that we need to do better to make this special teams better overall. And that's a lot of betters. But if the Rams were to cut Ethan Evans, they would save about $3.6 million, which, is a solid amount for a punter, right? And you can bring in somebody else. So I do think, Mark, that this is a scenario that won't happen. I don't think it will. But I do think that it is possible, right? You get a new coordinator in. Ethan Evans had some good moments, some great moments, and some moments you're like, man, that could have cost us games. It's something to talk about here. And I think he's really the last legitimate player that could be a cap casualty. But I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, your thoughts on that scenario if new special teams coordinator Bubba Ventrone gets what McVay and says, you know what, Ethan, cool and all, but let's save some money. Let's bring in a guy that I like, that I know can get the job done the way I want to do it. We're talking about Bubba Ventrone.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of money when you consider the position relative to the position. And, hey, you always got to be looking to improve every position, every unit on your team. And there's no doubt that we could have a better punter. We could have better returners. We could probably even have a better kicker. So everything's on the table. And if they can possibly even find a street free agent punter after the draft that can compete with him or exceed what or they feel like he is a potential better long-term answer, then I could see them moving on from Ethan Evans. Be some risk there though. But because Ethan's, he's decent, he's serviceable, he's okay. We don't want to make the position worse either, right?
Yeah. No, definitely not make it worse. And again, one more time for everyone, this isn't a prediction or what we want and we're wishing for, but it is a scenario that is possible. Now, again, with new coaches coming in on that side of the ball and special teams and saving that $3+ million, very, very possible. Would it shock us based on everything we just talked through? No. And it shouldn't shock you either based on the history of this team that we've talked about earlier. So a scenario that is out there, but I think they're going to keep him around. And I would like to see Ethan finish the job with us. He's been a fun guy to root for, and we need more do or die punts. We know what's in him, right?
Yeah, and his kickoffs are pretty sweet too. And you make a good point. I do this all the time on my drops that I do by myself. I present information, and people get spun up. They're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm not necessarily arguing for many of the things I present.
Yeah.
I'm just presenting the facts and the options and the scenarios and the way, especially the mock drafts. I'm not necessarily arguing for an offensive tackle at 29, but this is what it might look like if we did. And same thing here with this. Just giving you an idea of how it could work out, the options the Rams have at their disposal, and what they might do. And we're not saying probably most of these are not going to happen, but I think a handful certainly are.
Yeah, I do think so as well. So there's pretty much everyone we think is going to be affected or possibly be affected with cap casualties, restructure, and extension more for Kevin Dotson, which I do hope happens anyway. So Mark, as we add up all those guys that we think are possible and that the Rams would explore, if they were to do that, this isn't counting cutting Ethan Evans or
let me
cutting,
take a guess. Let me take a guess. It's
yeah,
$1
this
billion.
isn't counting Colby Parkinson either. Let me just put that in there real quick for everyone's disclaimer. One more time. This isn't counting cutting tight end Colby Parkinson or cutting Ethan Evans. This would be, though, taking into the fact that they are cutting Darius Williams. With all that, what do you think that number is going to be that they're adding in cap space?
You want an answer from me?
Let's take a guess.
I think it's going to be, I did a quick ad earlier before we started. It's got to be in between 40 and 50 million.
So if the Rams did all the restructures that we're talking about and extension with Dotson, they would get an additional $71.2 million.
Oh, wow.
If they were to go through with all of those scenarios we went through. Again, but not cutting Ethan Evans and not cutting Colby Parkinson. We're not counting that, which we don't think is going to happen. Pretty crazy, though. That is a scenario that they could go down, and it is possible. But I do think the main ones that are slam dunks going to happen, Mark, if we just add up those, which would be restructuring Matthews' deal, adding some void years, restructuring Devontae Adams' current deal, adding some void years, and then also restructuring Alaric Jackson, pushing money into his future playing days or adding void years. If you just do those three, the Rams can get an additional almost $32 million in cap space if they just handle those three guys. That's not even including Kevin Dotson's possible extension, which would be great. I'm expecting that to come through, which would add another $11-ish million. So the Rams can, in theory, get it's kind of crazy to think about, man. Almost $40 million in extra cap space if we include a Dotson extension in there too, which I think should happen anyway. So the Rams, again, everyone, can get $30 to $40 million extra in cap space than what they already have right now. If we pull up that chart, right now they're currently, let's just say 43. We're going to take away Quessenberry's goods, right? So if we add that all together, everyone, the Rams, in theory, if they wanted to, could have almost $100 million in cap space if they so wanted to do it. And we're not even talking about Quinn, Kyron, Puna, Nate Landman, all those guys getting restructures either. That would just be the top guys with a lot of big cap numbers and an extension with Dotson. I think they're going to do it, Mark. I think those scenarios are likely to happen, leading to the Rams getting almost, $90 million, that $87 million in cap space. I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's going to start happening real quick. Just today, I don't know if you saw this, the Chiefs converted $44 million of Patrick Mahomes' base salary into a roster bonus, and they freed up over $40 million. And I think this is the fourth straight year they've restructured Patrick Mahomes. So it's going to start happening across the league as free agency approaches, where the Rams are all these teams are going to kind of get their purses squared away. They get their dollars and cents all lined up and on the table right before free agency starts.
Yeah, so I'm expecting the Rams to have 70 million in cap space, pushes from that 70 to 80, $90 million in cap space by the time free agency hits. I really do expect that. And if it's not, would be a head scratcher, in my opinion, would be puzzling, but we'll see what happens. But again, the main three guys I think are definitely getting restructures. We'll go through them one more time for you. Matthew Stafford, Devontae Adams, and Alaric Jackson, no doubt about it, are getting restructures, in my opinion. And then also, we think Darius Williams is going to be a cap casualty cut to save 7 million, 7.5 million. And then I also think, that Kevin Dotson will get an extension because he deserves it, by the way, which will also free up another 11 plus million. So I think all those guys, I think I'm saying that with like 90% certainty will happen. I'll be shocked if those things don't happen, Mark, right?
Yeah, and maybe it's semantics, but I don't even know if I'd characterize Darius Williams as a cap casualty.
No, I get
I
it.
mean,
I get it.
yeah, you know what I mean. It's not because they have pressure on their cap, but it's a combination of freeing up cap space and just the performance hasn't been there, right?
Yeah, that's the truth, everyone. So, I mean, hey, we'll see what the heck happens. To Mark's point a few minutes ago, I mean, we'll get answers on these things very soon. As Mahomes, I didn't know that got his mega restructure. What do you say, 40 million in cap space they freed up? So,
Right.
I mean,
And
guys,
I think
go ahead, Mark.
I think they are. I don't have the numbers, but I'm pretty sure they were in some real. I don't want to say cap hell. I hate that term, but they were up against it, trying to free up some cap space.
Yeah, I mean, guys, and our restructures weren't anything like that either. There was like 11 million here, 11 million here, 11 million here, right? 8, 7, 5, 4. The Rams could do something outrageous like that too if they wanted to. And we're just going with the most simplistic versions of that. So we'll see what happens. We expect those to go down in this all-in season, right? You want to get and trade for a Crosby, right? A lot of the fan base wants. You want to trade and get a McDuffie. I know a lot of the fan base wants. You want to sign a Jamel Dean. I know a lot of the fan base wants. And other players, right? People are hopeful for another receiver, Alex Pierce, Mike Evans. And we're just going down the top guys in my head. You really want to get those guys? You're going to do all these restructures to free up that cap space so it's possible. So let's see what happens, Mark. I'm excited. But there's these scenarios, everyone, that are realistic and some that I think are definitely going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope I want this team to be the best they can possibly be, but for selfish reasons, I hope they don't give up those draft picks because the NFL draft is going to be so much fun if they keep them. But they may have to, if they want to, if they want to, if they're going to trade for some of these guys that maybe are up for new contracts or on the last year of their contract. It's going to, and Trent McDuffie, he's got a big contract already. So, we maybe trading draft picks is in the cards for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see. And look at everyone. Tune in for those episodes coming in within the next handful of weeks. We'll go through me and Mark. We're going to watch as much film as humanly possible. Shout out to Mark and everyone else that has been, previewing free agent targets as it is with our early looks. But we're going to watch the film. We're going to give you an educated scenario for who the Rams should actually get, not just based on what they've done 3-4 years ago. Like, hey, some players, that's just how it is, right? They hear the big names, you get excited. I get that way too. I get it. But tune into that. We'll have a list for corners. We'll have a list for other impact players in the defense, the secondary, etc. What do trade packages look like for certain star players that may or may not be available? We'll go through all that very soon. So, hey, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to turn on that notification bell. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you enjoy our content. If you're on the audio podcast only side of things, hope you guys continue to enjoy us there and share it all, everyone. It helps other Rams fans see this content and grow the fan base, and everyone a part of this podcast network very much appreciates it. Right, Mark?
Absolutely. And I think what we should do a few days before free agency is we're going to have to come together and draw up our dream scenario of how the Rams are going to rebuild. Rebuilding is the wrong word. How they're going to, round out this roster for a Super Bowl run between draft picks, trades, restructuring, and we'll come up with a dream scenario of what Les Need and Sean should get done here in free agency and the draft.
Yep, and we'll have plenty of those micro scenarios leading up to that grand finale when we say, let's build this team out. And tune in for that. We're counting down the days till free agency frenzy begins. That's in early March, everyone. So we don't have that much time left, which is fun and crazy in the same way. And me and Mark, we got a lot of film to watch, and we'll definitely get to all those players that we should target based on the film, which is, I think, the best way to view players in this current age. Shout out to all 22 if you guys have access to that as well. But that'll do it here, Mark. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, that's plenty. We'll be back on the weekend. Scott and I will take a look at. He's going to critique my cornerback free agent presentation. I think that's our plan, and we'll go from there.
Yep, and tune into that early look on the free agents there. And we'll get me and Mark. We'll have our final say on all those guys again after we watch some film, and we'll get a full picture of who's worthy of targeting with this hopeful lots of cap space that we have, right? That we went through today, everyone. So
right.
What goes down. But again, we appreciated you tuning in here. And no matter where you are, planet Earth, you're in SoCal in the winter. You're in the other parts of the country in the winter. You're in Australia, our friends out there now. Down south, up north, east, west, no matter where you're on planet Earth, everyone, don't forget, rep your blue and yellow. Rep it proud, rep it loud, and always got to throw up those horns. Go Rams, baby.